One of the biggest events within the history of Westeros was the fall of the Targaryen dynasty as a result of Robert's rebellion. But what if after the war, Robert didn't want it? What if instead, Tywin Lannister was sitting the Iron Throne?
For a lot of fans, us included, this is one of the best case scenarios for a what if. We love Tywin. We love the concept of him just taking that, being like, fine, I'll do it myself.
Right.
But two things have to happen in order to get there. Like you said, Robert doesn't want it, and Tywin has to want it. And I don't think it would take much to convince Tywin. But Robert would need to make this clear somewhat toward the end of Robert's rebellion, so Tywin can kind of start putting his chips in order to get there. Because me and Don were talking a little bit before this, and the most likely way that it would happen would be for a great council to form, like it has several times in Westeros history, where basically the lords from all the great houses come together and kind of nominate a king based on who wants to do it.
Right, and there's going to be some negotiations. Tywin needs to shore up some alliances and make some marriage pacts with his children to ensure that he, and also, I think Tywin's back on the market. If he needs to, shore up an alliance, I think he's willing to marry in this. But before we get into that, I think he might even try to help at the Triton as well to kind of garner support from the rebellion in that time.
I think so too. I mean, at this point, Robert is going to have made it clear. Like, I don't know when it happens. It could happen even prior to the rebellion really breaking out, where Robert's like, I'm going to overthrow the Targaryens, but I don't want to be king. Damn you, Ned. Like, he could do that. But it's kind of weird. Then why are you even going to follow this guy? It's just going to be a total free-for-all. You kind of have to go into it as like a supporter with some kind of assumption that one of the guys leading the rebellion is going to end up being king. So it's going to happen later on, right? Before the Lannisters really throw their hat in the ring for one of them. But when Robert makes that clear, it's going to make it very easy for Tywin to be like, okay, I see my chance. I see my chance. I'm going to take it. And the best way to do that would be to start helping out the rebellion in certain ways, like with Battle of the Trident and also the Siege of King's Landing, like really getting in there and making it more strategic, because the aftermath of that's going to be very important.
We'll just go in chronological order here. So Tywin at some point tries to support the rebel cause a little bit, but doesn't make it so obvious that word gets back, even though we know Varys is whispering into the Mad King's ear, like, don't trust him. And Pycelle is the exact opposite. I don't know who's the devil and the angel in that situation on the Mad King's shoulder.
I don't know.
But
I can see an argument for both.
Comment down below, who's the devil, who is the angel in that situation.
He's not even castrated, my lord. He's lying to you.
It's like, all right, that's the devil.
I think Tywin also is more measured and when he goes into King's Landing. So in the original series, he goes in there, cleans house, destroys the entire Targaryen line from Elia and as well as Elia Martell within the Red Keep, and he kind of presents them as trophies to Robert. In this situation, I don't think he does that. I think he tries to eliminate Targaryen line, but also tries to keep Elia Martell alive as a potential ally from Dorne, but also Tywin really needs to push a good PR in this whole situation. So the whole story that Jaime, for whatever reason, did not tell everyone that he saved the city and that there are actually tons of wildfire caches throughout King's Landing that pyromancers were setting up.
Better left unsaid.
That needs to be exposed and shown to the city like, hey, listen, if I didn't do this, here's all of these bombs that are about to go off within the city. That was a good thing, right, guys? And like, oh, wow, yeah, I guess Jaime is a good guy. Even though I'm sure Ned would still shake his head and go, it doesn't matter if the whole city was going to... I'm for whatever reason, doing Robert's voice here, but it doesn't matter if the whole city was going to blow up. You should have still bent the knee to your king and listened to his orders.
Damn you, Jaime. But yeah, dude, I totally agree. The whole PR spin on this is going to be completely different. So, like, Elia, I think, needs to live. The kids still need to die because they are of the Targaryen line, so they could be a potential threat, right, to the ruler later on. Like, there's going to be a lot of Targaryen loyalists no matter what you do. There's really only two ways probably it can go, so let us know in the comments which one of these two ways you think it should go. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect things in the long run, but one, he could still dispatch the mountain up there to do exactly what he was supposed to do, right? Pluck a few grapes off the vine while he's up there and then smash the babies.
Right.
But at the same time, he has like a counterforce of Lannister men sent up there, possibly having been told, like, hey, the mountain's going rogue, you got to take care of him, this is not the way it's supposed to go. And then these people then kill the mountain, and then later on he presents it as though the mountain went rogue, and unfortunately everybody died except Elia. Everybody would believe then that he went out of his way to try to save the Targaryen babies, but unfortunately couldn't. Luckily, Elia's alive, who is the person that Dorne is going to care about the most. That's one way. The other way is he could just stage the event completely and send up a bunch of fake Targaryen loyalists up there to, for some reason, kill the kids. And then it just so happens to be that Elia is spared, right?
Right, and then the Lannister soldiers come in, save the day, kill those fake Targaryen soldiers there.
Right.
Elia Martell now is associating Savior with a golden lion. And potentially,
so good.
ideally, it'd be with Jaime as well, because then she could just prop up Jaime as this beautiful hero within the Red Keep. But yeah, that definitely needs to happen somewhere like that Elia stays alive, the children are dead, and Lannisters look good.
For sure. And the aftermath of this, though, Jaime did still kill the Mad King. So a really important thing that needs to be done as well is, even though this propaganda is going to be spreading like, wildfire, no pun intended, right? There still needs to be some sort of punishment, even if it's performative. So I thought it would be funny if Tywin basically just discharges Jaime from the King's Guard. This is the most honorable title in the realm, and my own son is not worthy of it for being a Kingslayer. Right? Dismisses him from the King's Guard, and maybe forbids him from being the heir to the Iron Throne, let's just say, right?
Right.
But now he's perfectly able to go back and be the heir to Casterly Rock, which is like Tywin's ultimate wet dream. And now Tywin is free to remarry, like you said, and then have a new son to be the heir to the Iron Throne. That sounds like that's chef's kiss. That's the perfect scenario.
Yeah, right. So the negotiations are happening now at this great council. So it's after the sack of King's Landing, everyone groups up within King's Landing, or maybe some better smelling area within
ideally
the Crown Lands, right?
Yeah.
They all meet up. Negotiations are going on. I don't know who's the other potential person they prop up. Robert, at this point, like we said in our What If, does not want it. So I'm not sure who'd be the second person to try to get in there, whether it'd be Stannis. If Stannis was like, well, now I have the better blood claim. I don't know if Stannis would have the backing of the High Lords at this point, especially because he's just so malnourished. I'm sure he's only just thinking about food, sitting there watching Mace the Ace just chow down mukbang right outside the Storm's End.
Listen, Mace the Ace, I could see throwing his hat in the ring to be king before Stannis. Like Stannis, he doesn't even want to be king in the timeline of A Song of Ice and Fire that we know. He only is doing it because he feels like honor bound to do it, because he's the next guy after Robert in succession.
So I think Tywin opens up. He goes, hey, listen, I'm not a guy. I'm not a little poontang hound like so many other people in Westeros are, but I will remarry and produce an heir for the good of the realm. Everyone's like, oh, wow, that's so gracious of you, Lord Tywin. So I think he needs to propose some alliance, and there's not a lot of women High Lords out there that are available at this point.
No.
Whenever it comes down to it, it's really just the Tullys and the Lannisters, and, contrary to popular belief, Tywin does not like his daughter. So, like that, I should say. So I think he needs to reach... I don't think he can go with Elia Martell, right? I mean, that would be... Is that too close? Like, I don't see that happening.
Dude, spoiler alert. We'll talk about it later, but Elia Martell is actually my pick for Jaime. But no, so definitely not for Tywin.
I think he marries some person from the Reach, because, like, the Reach... Marjorie Tyrell's not even born at this point, which is someone's obvious choice for, like, a later generation. But I'm thinking he marries... Marjorie Tyrell's like aunt, like Leighton Hightower. He has like a bunch of daughters, and all of them are married. They don't give a nice little date of when they're married, but like take your pick there, Tywin. You could pick a daughter there, marry into the Hightowers, one of the most powerful houses, under the radar houses within
cool
all of Game of Thrones.
Some of the best history. Like you don't even know what's going on in Old Town half the time, right? In the main era that we're talking about here. This is one of the oldest houses, one of the most decorated houses, the cultural center of the Seven Kingdoms. The Starry Sept is there. Oh, dude, it's amazing. Yeah, he's got to pick a Hightower. He needs to pick a Hightower. They have so many daughters, too. Leighton Hightower has like a bunch of daughters. As far as like from our perspective, making a what if, he has several daughters that are unnamed, that have like no character attached to them or like obligations. So you just literally pick a random one and there you go.
I don't know if you want to go with Melora or what is her name? Layla, Denesi. Dude, some of these names here, they're throwing off my dyslexic brain here, but he could go with any of these potential women to marry. I don't know. Maybe Tywin likes a little bit of the crazy. He decides with the oldest one.
You get her down in King's Landing hanging with Tywin. She can't even get into that occult shit anymore. You know what I mean? He's going to clean house. She's going to be a good wife.
And the Tyrell family is married into the Hightower family right now. So if the Hightowers are brought into, to the power of the Red Keep or King's Landing area, then it does look like Tyrells are like a major influence in there. And even can have Mace the Ace become the master of ships that he so badly wants, according to the show.
Yeah.
So he could be brought in as well. I think he has the Reach now locked in. I think, like you said, Elia Martell, who does she marry? Jamie's like the great pick for.
Yeah, I think it's Jaime,
right?
man. Yes, and also too, you have this whole drama with Jaime and Cersei They are going to be totally separate now. We haven't talked about Cersei yet, but we both have some picks for Cersei. Either way, with Tywin in charge, I don't think there's going to be this situation where Cersei and Jaime are just like magnetized to each other. And they always find a way to be in the same spot at the same time. Jaime's not in the Kingsguard anymore. No, he's going to have his own family, his own wife. Maybe they have meetups once in a while every few years, but that's not really going to affect anything.
Well, I don't know. It really depends on who Cersei marries. Who's your pick for who Cersei marries? Because she could either remarry Robert, or maybe she marries into the Tully family and she marries old Chadmere Tully.
I don't think she'd marry Robert. I don't think so. I don't think Robert wants to get remarried. We'll talk about Robert a little bit. I'm not so convinced that he would get remarried at all unless...
Why not? Was he even married to begin? Robert?
Well, okay, I guess you're right. I'm like thinking of Cersei being in the past. Yeah. He was never married in the actual Song of Ice and Fire series until Cersei. I don't think he wants to get married at all.
He was like having wet dreams of
to Lyanna, right?
Constantly.
Right, / Ned. But after that moment, I don't think he wants to. I think, like the battlefield is his wife or whatever you want to say. So we'll talk about him. Cersei, though, I think definitely is off the table for Robert. There's really no incentive for it at all. I like your idea with Edmure, man. I think Edmure is a good pick. Shores up the Riverlands, keeps Cersei in place, and think about how far away Jaime and Cersei are. Like, Tywin knows what's going on. He's not an idiot. At least he suspects it, right? So it behooves him to keep him far away.
Yeah, and I think if you have another faction being pulled from the Riverlands is usually where all the conflict happens within Westeros. So if you're able to have the heir of Riverrun on your side, that really helps you in a lot of situations moving forward and securing at least the immediate area around the Crown Lands. So Chadmere with Cersei, that's pretty close. Riverrun's pretty close to Crasterly Rock over there, Gator. So I think there's going to be a little more incest than we thought. We'll go into it a little bit later about like what's the chances of it. But I think these alliances are good. Again, Tywin says, my heir. I think he swears off his entire Lannister line and goes, hey, Jaime, Tyrion, they're both heirs to Crasterly Rock.
Tyrion.
Yes, it is Crasterly Rock. It's canon. We talked to George about it, not Casterly.
Right. Show only change. And typo in the book.
They're going to stay in the Westerlands, and then Tywin, he brings his boy Kevin. I'm sure that's going to be his Hand of the King, his boy Kevin.
Yep.
They are going to be within King's Landing, and they're going to start a new line with the Hightowers, and that'll be like the Lannisters of King's Landing, like how we got the Baratheons of King's Landing in the book series. That was like kind of a different line compared to the Baratheon line, right, within the Stormlands. And then Tywin will declare that line, all of his heirs will come from it, so that way he can stay happy with the Reach, even though the Martells don't have the royalty line like they would have like before, but it's still pretty good. It's still pretty good, right? The Martells didn't have bad beef with the Lannisters.
Yeah, not until the Mountain and all that situation happened. And that's why I said like one of the possible good options would be to have the Mountain commit this crime, but Tywin like go way out of his way to show like, no, I did not condone this. I did not sanction this. This is way out of bounds. He's going crazy. He's going nuts. And then, so he dies, and if he really wanted to, too, he could execute the Hound, just as like a little bit of a further punishment or whatever, just like a show. And listen, based on that sounds just like him. Based on my current impression of the Hound, dude, I would love nothing more than to see this dude executed. I would love nothing more. This guy is such a little bitch. But anyway, well, I was going to say in case Cersei and Edmure don't work out, because you never know, people have standards, right? You could always marry Cersei off to our like the true Lord of the Riverlands, Walder Frey. He could probably do some good work with that. I tell you what, if there's any man who could break Cersei of that obsession with Jaime, it's our boy.
And if anyone has any questions on whether Tywin is still of an age where he can be dropping heirs, just look no further than the twins, where you see the biggest sea dropper within
absolutely
Westeros.
You should see his twins, man. They're bulbous. They got to be like bocce balls, man.
Yo. Get a maester over there. Those things are huge.
So what do you see happening with the Iron Islands right now? Because we haven't discussed the Iron Islands at all, and there's a lot of dirty things that happen with them in the main timeline.
Dude, they are the most disgusting. It's funny, we were talking about all these alliances that get to shore up and who you marry with what, and no one talks about Balon. Of course, I think he's married at this point, but yeah, dude, Balon, get the hell out of here. So gross. Plus, the Greyjoys and the Lannisters are not fans of one another, so I think immediately there's some tensions arising between these two houses as Lannisters are.
Well, the Greyjoys are obsessed with sacking and pillaging Lannisport.
Dude,
That's leave them alone.
Dude, could you imagine if you're obsessed with pillaging, graping, and you see this big booty of Lannisport sitting right across the bay from you, just full up to the brim of gold. You're like, ooh, Daddy, I need that. I need to get that.
That's true, man. Yeah, they're hungry. They see those shiny. They see it. They want it.
Oh, it's so juicy over there. I gotta take a bite out of that.
Dude,
so
honestly, they are very close. It's like Metropolis and Gotham. It's like no DC fan ever knew how close they were until the Zack Snyder movies came out, and suddenly you realize it's a spitting distance away. So same deal.
I think Balon's rebellion still happens. Balon pops off, right? He does not have confidence that the realm will stay together underneath Tywin, which, I mean, that might be a very stupid move for him, but as I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, a stupid move for Balon? Where does he sign? That's never gonna stop him.
Yeah, no, that's per his script. Absolutely. And you know what the best part about Balon's rebellion still happening is? I think this is a great opportunity for Tywin to let Robert strut his stuff. Robert's going to be very angsty sitting down there in Stormlands if his only job is being Lord of the Stormlands, right? He doesn't want to be down there, Lord of Storm's End. He wants to be out on the battlefield, kicking ass. And I think that Robert would love the opportunity to go footbuck Balon, man. He would do it. He would pillage the Iron Islands just like he does all these other places. It'd be fun. He would impregnate several women, not through grape. Women love him. Men want to be him. I don't know if that makes them like Iron Wives, right? They wouldn't be Salt Wives. It's like Uno reverse of Salt Wives, right? Like some other guy coming in there. He'd impregnate him, get some more bastards. He'd take Balon's waterlogged underwear and wring them out into his mouth as a little salty electrolyte victory gulp.
I thought you were going to say he's going to give him a wedgie. Just like pull it over his atomic wedgie.
Wedgie until it snaps, and then he wrings it out into his own mouth. And then I'm guessing, dude, Tywin's not going to be like Robert either. He's going to order this dude executed. Why wouldn't you?
Yes, exactly. Good. Thank you, Tywin.
Yes. About time.
My ideal version of this, too, is that Tywin's like watching Robert do all these things to him. Mm-hmm. And Tywin's just so sturdy face, and they're kind of waiting for Tywin to give his approval, like, oh, okay, good. You're done. That's enough out of Balon. You can stop bullying him. And he just keeps like, more. Yeah. And Robert's just like loving it, and then kind of gets like sick of what he's doing, and then eventually he has to execute Balon for, he's wedging him so hard that like breaks his neck or something. The atomic wedgie. Dude,
yeah, for sure. There's no doubt. You take him to Pound School, and then afterward, what does Tywin get to do? He gets to add this whole event to his propaganda, just like with the Heiress and the Mad King thing, right? Like he brings it up constantly. It's like, yes, this reminds me of the time that I saved the 7 kingdoms from wildfiery hell. It's like he probably brings it up all the time because why wouldn't you? Now it's the same thing. It's, guys, remember that time that we crushed Balon's pathetic Pike rebellion? Pike smells like shit. Its women are nasty. Euron just wears an eye patch to look cool. He still has an eye under there. You could say whatever you want.
I think Theon then is a ward of Lannisport, or not maybe not Lannisport, but Crashly Rock, excuse me.
Why would he even be taken as a ward if Balon's dead?
You think he's just going to get executed as well with the rest of them? I don't know. Like you have a chance to morph this house, because I don't think Tywin really wants to execute great houses if he has to. I think he'd rather, keep the legitimacy of that house, mold it in his image, and then reinstate them back.
So you're saying Theon would be molded to then go take the throne after, like, eventually, or who's ruling there, like in Regency?
Who's ruling the Regency? I guess it would be it might be
Euron's
Victarion,
next in line, right?
Unless he wants to kill Victarion, he wants to kill Euron. I don't think he does that. But what they could do instead there is just have put Tyrion over there. That's what you could do.
Tyrion.
Do something with Tyrion.
Yeah, true. You actually could. Like, there's actually a good role for him. I mean, he would hate it. Although, never mind. Maybe there's so many loose women over there. Maybe he would like it. I don't know. He could just like drink freely. But dude, based on the show, I can't believe how depressing Pike looks. That throne room or whatever, that little
dude.
Oh my god, that is just the worst. But
I think our hatred of the Greyjoys really does stem a lot from the TV show, like the nastiness of them. Yeah. I think if they looked closer to how they should look in the books, where it's way more like Viking, they're not heavy armor by any means, but they have a little more decency to them. I think we'd appreciate them. Same with the Freys. They always make them look like these Monty Python peasants. Like, what's going on here? Oh, I'm a Frey. Oh, the bloody hell.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happens with Balon's Rebellion. Robert still has this insatiable thirst for blood. And I think Tywin at this point hears that, hey, looks like the Targaryens are still alive. Do you think Gator, do you think Robert's sent over there as like a stag team 6 to go take out the Targaryens? Undercover style.
Yeah, like stag team.
I don't know how much undercover this like 6'8" giant of a man can do, but I think
he's like a super space, like the Boar identity. Does that work? The Boar killed him. I don't know if that works. Anyway,
Boar identity.
Yeah, the Boar identity. He's Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
No, I think so. I don't know. There's a few ways that could go too. It's like, I feel like Tywin would have to be appeasing him for that to happen, though. Because the best way to do it would just be to send a spy. Send some golden dragons over to the House of Black and White and send a faceless man to kill her. Like that would happen pretty easily, I think. But if Robert hears about it and is like, send me over there, I need to taste some Targaryen brain. Like maybe Tywin would be like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Like it's not exactly the way that I wanted to do it, but maybe we do want to show a little bit of overt strength, And if they time it in the era of the main series where Daenerys is actually becoming a threat, because that's the point where Robert started to see her as a threat too. When Khal Drogo came into the mix,
right?
That'd be pretty cool because then you have, Stag Team 6 go over there, led by Jason Bourne, and you have a Robert versus Khal Drogo fight, which is pretty high T fight, and I think Robert takes this thing basically effortlessly, right? Like Operation Nut Crusher, literally splits Dany and V3 in half the long way. Rest in peace V3. Right. Brings White Boy Summer to Essos. That would be the way to do it. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, I would love that too. I'm trying to think of all these different nicknames that Robert would get after destroying Khal Drogo too, like Reverse Mr. Hands, because he's the horse. He's the man that screws the horse. Yeah. Yeah, just a bunch of different things. Comment down below what's the best Robert nickname we can give him other than the leader of Stag Team 6.
The stag that mounts the world. The stag that mounts the horse.
Oh yeah,
there's a site for you. But dude, it'd be great.
Look that up. Stag that mounts the horse.com.
Yeah, I'd love to see Robert speedbag Drogo's nuts, man.
Yeah, I mean, get in line for that request there. The other things that are happening right around this time is Littlefinger, his way into King's Landing was through Jon Arryn. Jon Arryn is no longer Hand of the King. I don't think Jon Arryn might be within the small council, maybe, but I don't even think it's a given. So Littlefinger's path to King's Landing and to rise to the ranks is definitely diverted. I think Littlefinger, because there's two things he really wants. He wants chaos and he wants Catelyn, right? So if he can't really get necessarily Catelyn right away, how does he climb the ladder? Well, within the House Arryn or the Vale, he's able to climb it through doing very good investments. I forgot what port he was in. I think he was doing a lot of he was showing his skills there. I think he might run over to River Run because he has ties there, right? Because he used to be a ward of House Tully.
Yeah, the Tullys.
So I think maybe he can go over there and try to get in good with Cersei and Edmure. That's definitely a path for him to talk to Cersei and then eventually get recommended to go over to King's Landing, right? Because otherwise, what's Jon Arryn going to do for you?
Oh, yeah. Jon Arryn's a dead end. Cersei's the only path to King's Landing, and it really depends on how motivated he really is and how realistically he sees that vision. Because if Jon Arryn is your guy and your guy is being eyed up to be the Hand of the King, it's oh, dude, easy. I'll just get in good with this dude, especially since he's pretty gullible as well. So that would work great versus this whole Cersei thing. Cersei is a super bitch, and she's probably not going to be super happy with her situation. And even if she is, I don't know why she'd really give Littlefinger the time of day unless Littlefinger can give her something that she wants that no one else can give her. And I don't even want to go down that road because then it's well, what I really want is to see my brother Jaime, and then he somehow works out an arrangement, where they can see each other. Which is just I know he could. I just don't like that idea. But you're right. It's probably a realistic thing.
It definitely is a realistic thing. Not that she says she needs to be with her brother. It's I want this for Jaime to be inside me. She doesn't need to say that to Littlefinger by any means. She just needs to say, I would like to see my brother. I miss my brother. And somehow Littlefinger is able to either finance or do things to ensure that they're able to either visit each other or that these events occur that would result in Jaime and Edmure showing up and then subsequently their significant others, right? So that's all Littlefinger needs to do. But I do think if he goes to Riverrun, I'm not trying to fanfic this and be oh, well, how convenient he's able to find it out. But Littlefinger is going to try to find out dirt on people, right? All the little rumors. He knows all these little rumors within the Vale already of certain people, and he has connections within Riverrun, I'm sure. If he's able to find out Cersei and Jaime's little connection, I don't know if it's so obvious that Edmure's children, if Edmure's getting cuckolded by Jaime, because I don't think there's a big book of all of the Tullys have red hair in it, right?
Right.
That's definitely not a thing. But the strategy for Littlefinger, find a secret, that's true, and it's really big. Drop clues to the secret for some person investigating it. Kill the investigator, and then drop clues for somebody else to pick up about who killed the investigator and what the investigator was investigating.
And then you help with it. Yeah. Then you act
right.
like be an active helper. So then you work up in the ranks and you get trusted by more people and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, that's completely true. It's just, I hate the idea of Jaime and Cersei like being like together after all this stuff. It almost feels like too many
before, right? They want each other.
I know. It's just this particular thing. It's just, I feel like, well, one, I don't like the end result of it, so I'm biased there too. But I just I feel like we're jumping through too many hoops and like kind of too fanficky. Like, I think Littlefinger would do this and this specific thing. It's like, I don't know, maybe. I think he'd want to do this specific thing. I just wonder if he would see that as like, okay, I'm in like the Vale right now, okay? And
right.
Like, and this Jon Arryn guy, he's a total dead end, or there's no one here, like crazy ass Lysa. There's nothing here for me, right? What am I gonna do? I don't know if he would see with his eyes, like, I'm gonna pinpoint the Riverlands because Cersei Lannister is there, who is married to Edmure, and I'm gonna assume that there's some way I can like blackmail her, exploit her weaknesses in order to stage this big operation to somehow get to King's Landing. Because I'm not even sure if that's like his goal outside of Jon Arryn's situation like presenting itself to him. You know what I mean? Like, is that really his goal from the beginning?
No, he's a creature of opportunity, right?
Yes,
if
right.
the opportunity's
Exactly.
there, he will take advantage of it. I don't think he's actively looking for people of incest. Like, oh, is someone having an incest relationship here? That's my kink. I really need to know about it. That way I can jerk off to it later. No, I think Littlefinger is finding out secrets about everybody, right? So if he goes to King's Landing, the other secret that he could try to undermine relationships there would be, he found out somehow, which I don't know how true or how valid he could actually prove it, but that somehow Tywin staged the whole Martell saving, right?
Yeah.
That like these people, the mountain was actually told to kill the children, so that way he could remove the Targaryen line from Westeros. That would be good if Littlefinger found that out. I don't know how he's able to prove it to some person. He doesn't have a big book of all the times people backstab people to give to the investigator like he did with the heir
right,
to Ned. But you know what I'm saying? Like he will find a situation and exploit it if he finds a secret there. So what secret can he find wherever he's at to exploit? Because his thing is either chaos or cat. And if there's no cat, the boy's looking for chaos, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, it's just a matter of we don't know about anything else about anybody in his vicinity. That's like the big problem there. But I would like to see Littlefinger taking a big part. I would like to see it. It's just I don't know a way that he can get there outside of this Cersei thing. And if you want to say that's what happens, that's fine. It's just it feels like a lot of dots that we're connecting that aren't there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, we're definitely going down the fanficky route as we do this.
Hold on, sure. Okay, let me ask you this.
Me and you both get into this. And if you listen to all of our videos, we get to this point in the video where it's, okay, we've compounded a probability after a probability after a probability of which way they go. So the likelihood they'd actually go down this direction is a very low percentage, but we still need to go down this road somewhere, right?
Well, let's pop our anti-Cialis, our anti-Viagra, right, and calm down for a second and just ask this question. Maybe it's just, is there any even reason, like, is there any reason that Littlefinger even has to be a relevant player? Or is it just...
But he is irrelevant. He just constantly...
Well, he is. He wants to be, but would he necessarily be if Tywin is king?
Would he be a significant player, a big enough one to, shift everything around?
Well, not even that. Like, would we ever even see him in King's Landing?
I think we do. Well, I think maybe not King's Landing, but we definitely see him around. The question is with Varys there, I don't know if Varys survives the change of regime, right? I think he has to flee maybe King's Landing or figure out a way to get out of there and then just kind of back to Blackfire / Aegon right at that point. But
go over there
I think Varys is still a
Illyrio.
player, right? Varys is still a player. He's not necessarily pulling the strings within King's Landing.
Well, no, but we know this backup strategy of his, like this long game with Illyrio, where they're doing the kiddie pool oil wrestling or whatever, getting Aegon ready to go, which I don't think they have now. Well, I guess, all right, it depends. We like to say on this channel that we like to say that young Griff is the legitimate is the legitimate son of Rhaegar and Elia. We like to say that.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's true. All right. So if it's not true and young Griff really is a Blackfire hanging out over there, then yeah, you could still see that whole situation play out and they would be coming over here with absolutely no prospect of dragons, by the way. We always talk about the prospect of young Griff having a dragon. In this situation, there's none of that.
Which Varys could be pulling a lot more strings within Dorne about that this is actually Aegon, and that maybe the Martells could marry into this faction of it and support them, because I'm sure they're, with Jaime only just being the heir of Crasterly Rock, like how is he going to play in all that in the future? That's a big mystery for them. But the Martells could back the Blackfires, and on top of it, the eggs that were previously owned by Dany, now that her brains are painted against the Dothraki walls, we can take those eggs and give them to young Griff, and maybe he's able to.
Yeah, true. Illyrio could give them to young Griff. That's 100% true. And then,
which I don't want to go into that fanfic, but like,
but maybe they come across another Mary Mazthick type witch, and John Condom uses his like gay sass in the wrong way, and she gets pissed, curses him, he dies. And then they have a big funeral pyre in the same way that they had for Khal Drogo for John Condom. And then young Griff in the same way of Dany, except it's not romantic. It's just like, man, that guy was my stress relief. Yeah, like that was my stress. That was my condom. That was my stress relief. And so he walks into the pyre in the same way with the eggs. And it's the same situation, man. The blood magic. He survives the fire, naked little young Griff with 3 baby dragons ready to conquer Westeros once again.
You talk about not wanting to do fanfic, Gator. That was the biggest fanfic I think we've written on the channel.
No, come
right
on. I connected like one dot.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about the biggest puppet master in all of Westeros, Bloodraven? How does he get his boy Bran, the parkour cringe lord, all the way up to his little place beyond the wall? How does he do that if there's no War of the Five Kings? There's no him in the window seeing that whole situation. Because basically what needs to happen is Bran is paralyzed, Winterfell in shambles, he escapes that way. How is Bran able to get up to old Bloodraven, Brandon Rivers?
Dude, it has to be a whole new strategy. How is he even going to paralyze? I mean, luckily Bran's a parkour kid, which is super cringe, right? So it's going to be easy to injure him. I don't know how it's going to be orchestrated this time, though. I mean, you're not going to have the Jaime Cersei thing. I don't know. I mean, it depends on how much Bloodraven can influence these people, right? If Bloodraven can literally make him just sleepwalk off a ledge and paralyze him that way, I guess that'd be kind of easy. But then again, you're not going to have a situation where Winterfell is sacked either, and then Bran has to try to escape. Because, dude, I mean, think about Winterfell's situation. Ned and Robb Stark and everybody they're going to be fine up there. They're going to be chilling. Like Jon Snow will still go to the Wall, but besides that, it's like that's a pretty united family up there.
I wonder how many people believe that Bloodraven's pulling so many of the strings that he's able to orchestrate the War of the Five Kings to that extent. I think he definitely is creating chaos between each maybe families or just events, but not to the extent that, hey, I definitely made sure that all these houses were going to battle each other. But I think Bran, he falls because of Bloodraven, right? Or maybe not even falls. Maybe he's just captured at some point by some faction, and then the Reeds come and save him. And if the Reeds save him, then they can indoctrinate him and bring him beyond the wall. So, like, a couple things need to happen for Bran. He needs to get visions from Bloodraven. He needs to be warging at that point with his direwolf. And in those, like, little dreamlike states, he needs to be tempted. He needs to be tempted by Bloodraven to go beyond the wall. But the Reeds will always be there to pull him. It's whether or not the incident happens. I don't know if it happens at Winterfell, whether it happens like closer towards the neck if they're going down to visit, people in River Run and Bran's there, and then something happens or he's captured and the Reeds save him. And they say, hey, we're going to take you home. And as they're taking him home, they're like, Bran mentions them. Actually, the turn for Winterfell was like right there. Where are we going?
It was actually like 50 miles back, but yeah, I agree. And then the same thing, by the way, goes with, not the same thing. But for Jon, he's going to be up at the wall too. I'm just trying to think of, even if Bran makes it beyond the wall, okay, let's just say, what happens with like the big overarching like White Walker conflict? Because I mean, listen, the way it sounds so far, unless young Griff comes over there and really starts screwing things up, it's a pretty like united, relatively peaceful Seven Kingdoms. So like if the wall sends word that they need extra people because the wildlings are attacking or whatever, Tywin's going to read that and be like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty reasonable. Like, we'll either send some people from here or we'll commission like some people from various kingdoms and send them up. Like, no problem.
That's why I think Littlefinger needs to come in a little bit and shake things up. Whether he somehow plots the death of Tywin Lannister somehow, and then kind of breaks into chaos within the realm. If maybe the Martells back Jaime and his son because they say, no, actually our line should be the ones, not the Hightower Tywin line should be heir to the Iron Throne when Tywin dies, right? Even though I think the agreement at the council was Tywin's new line with the Hightowers was going to be the heirs to the Iron Throne. The Martells might be able to try to push their claim with Jaime, even though he did not. He was basically disinherited from that line, right? From
yeah, but you know what?
Iron
You're
Throne.
saying that. That's actually a good strategy. Like, dude, Jaime, he has such a good claim. He, especially if the propaganda was successful enough, which how could it not be? He could even say, like, I was the one that saved your asses, you know?
And imagine if Littlefinger was pushing the whole, hey, this was not as clean as you thought within the Red Keep. I think Gregor Clegane just did a little slip and slide with the Targaryen children there in the Red Keep and just did running a head start and was like, here, or use them as like a little surfboard, a little bodyboard, held the kids down, just
skating down the stairs on their corpses. Just, all right, Littlefinger's back in. I like it. All right, he's back in. I like this method for Littlefinger. I like the tension. I like the chaos. And Tywin's dead too. When you started to say this, I was a little bit apprehensive because I didn't like the idea of Jaime like betraying his dad. Because I was like, well, why would that happen? But now, Jaime betraying this little bastard who doesn't even know his like new brother, dude. If my parents had a new little kid right now, I'm 30 years old and they have a new kid, I'm like, what the hell is this? This isn't even really my brother. This is like my kid.
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there's definitely tension to rise there, but I think the Martells, unless the Martells somehow have Aegon with his dragons in their back pocket, it might just be so one-sided that, where do the Baratheons side with? Who do the Aarons side with? The Tullys, they definitely, I think, would side with Jaime in the situation, but at the same time, maybe Edmure is like, no, actually the rightful heir is the Tywin Hightower children, not Jaime. You could just see kind of like a blacks versus greens where it's not exactly clear where everyone should go, and it might just break out like that.
Well, that's true, but in the end, dude, think about it though. Like, unless you have Dirty Dorne, doing their due diligence. Dirty Dorne doing the due diligence, Jesus, man. Unless you have all them lining every city with scorpions in anticipation, dude, the way I see it, young Griff's coming over, and he's going to clap the whole 7 kingdoms with his 3 dragons, man.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and smash that like button.
Or not, we don't care.